702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good morning. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. Tshidi Madia, standing in for Clement. I'll be with you for the next 3 hours. It is, as you keep hearing, the Youth Day edition of the show. It is a public holiday, an important day if you look at South Africa's history, but one can't feel that it's slowly being forgotten. Or is it just me? Maybe it's a Tshidi problem. What do you think? I've been thinking a lot about the youth of 76 versus the Fallist movement. This generation's young people were 10 years since they said no to what was happening at universities when they took a stand demanding free education. A lot of them have been on my mind. I've been thinking about Tshidi Madia, about Hector Peterson, a lot. I'll share my thoughts about all of this and more in just a bit. Also coming up on the show today, two important conversations between 10 and 11. We'll look at the Iran and Israeli conflict at 10 o'clock. At 10:30, we'll continue looking at the youth and issues affecting young people. We'll focus on the impact of gender-based violence on young people. At 11, it's family matters, and we'll continue with that theme as well. We'll look at the influence of family socio-economic status on tertiary students' mental health. I think this is even more relevant as we mark 10 years of Fees Must Fall this year. We start, of course, with the open line. I have a few topics in mind. I want to speak about the cricket. Of course, I want to speak about Liam Jacobs and what happened this weekend. You can also weigh in on these or suggest your own topics if you want us to discuss something. Our number 011 883 0702 072 702 1702.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
So 49 years, it's been 49 years since the blood of students, literally the blood of young people, ran through the streets of some of this country's townships, ran through the streets of Soweto. And they speak about what happened on Vilakazi Street. They speak about the blood of young people. Why, you ask? Because we had a repressive government, a government forcing millions to abandon their own language as a medium of instruction, opening fire on students who dared to say no. Today, in 2025, will mark 10 years since a democratic government was met by frustration and the might of this generation. Of course, as young people demanded access to free education, universities were brought to a shutdown. Students marched to the union buildings in Pretoria. And if you're watching Cape Town, I think there was a budget speech that day. Students took to Parliament. They tried to march onto Parliament. They tried to storm our Parliament. And again, it was a demand for better from the government of the day. The difference, of course, is that you had a repressive government previously, and now you're dealing with a democratic government. And unfortunately, I think both generations, when they look at South Africa today, I don't believe that they'd be satisfied with where the plight of young people are today. I do hope, though, that one day their vision, their mission, their sacrifices, the Fees Must Fall movement, the 1976 youth leaguers, young people would be worthwhile. That South Africa that they want, that treats young people and that makes opportunities available to everybody, will be exactly that. I want to play you the song. I know Ray played Tupac earlier on. Really cool. But I want to play you this song because that's, again, one of the things that's been playing through my head this entire morning.
Perhaps they want us to be proud and violent, to show them that you are serious about this.
Yeah. Hasina Male. So those are the voices that I think she used from the Fees Must Fall movement. The incredible Thandisa Mazwai. That song, it's a remake, Jigijela. And what's peppered there are the protest songs, the chants. I covered Fees Must Fall. So a lot of what is in the background brings back so much trauma, even in my own head, as a young journalist was on the field. Asina mali. The youth remains frustrated in 2025 in this country. Something's got to give. We mark a day where blood ran through the streets for a free South Africa. We get there, and the promises of this country, it's marking 70 years since the Freedom Charter was signed. Those preambles, those promises, those commitments, none of those are being delivered for young people. And that is a painful, painful thing. 011-883-072-072-702-1702 if you want to send in a voice note or a message, your reflections on youth. Of course, I do want to speak about Liam Jacobs. Mind you, that's the beauty of the freedom, right? That's the beauty of the democratic breakthroughs, that you can do whatever you want. That's what's beautiful about our country. I do want your thoughts on Liam Jacobs. I mean, so what was I doing? I was studying in the early hours, very odd early hours on Saturday morning. And because I don't know how to focus, I kind of tapped out and I went on social media. Then I see Gayton McKenzie putting up a poster that says Patriotic Alliance welcomes Liam Jacobs. And I thought, that's really odd. But here's the thing about Gayton McKenzie. If you follow his career, he will always have a live broadcast somewhere. It's not just the poster. The poster will be accompanied by something that's happened in the day. So I then went on Facebook, because Lindsay told me that's where you'll find a lot of Gayton McKenzie's live recordings. And lo and behold, that's exactly what I found. I want you to take a listen to a little bit of what I saw, and I'll explain some of it in the pauses.
30 seconds. I just want to get water because this is important what I'm going to tell you now. 30 seconds, I promise. Just 30 seconds. I'm just going to grab water. And check where's on pizza. Pizza probably got lost. And then I'm just going to grab water. Because what I tell you now, I'm too thirsty. I can't just say it. It is the biggest thing. I'm going to say it and I'm going to sleep. You have to know this. Let me just get water quickly.
And then what you then see if you watch the video, I mean, it's available on Facebook, I think on either Gayton McKenzie's or Patriotic Alliance. But in this moment, you just see a curtain in the ceiling. He goes away. You see a curtain in the ceiling. And then this next moment happens.
Come up, Patriots. Come up. Kukurukugu. Kom op. As die mense nog wakker raso.
So what that person is, that kukurukuku person, that's Liam Jacobs, young DA MP, who's actually been catching a lot of people's attention over recent weeks because of his style, right? His interrogation style in those portfolio committees. I think he sits in the Sports Arts and Portfolio Committee. In fact, he had a clash with Gayton McKenzie just last week. So people were like, how? Not only was he there going kukurukuku, no, he was also clad in a green PA T-shirt in that particular engagement. And so we were like, how, what, when? And so Liam, I mean, I immediately made the calls. I think I woke up people and I tried to call Liam. His phone wasn't working. Tried to call so many people, tried to wake up so many people. And just to understand whether or not a resignation had been submitted. Because it's one thing to see him in that T-shirt, but I was just completely taken aback. But what I then learned is that there was no actual formal resignation submitted to the DA. I thought it was interesting to see Sinawa Tambo of the EFF. They were going to Durban, saying that they saw Liam with the PA people on a flight to Durban. Mind you, the Friday, he had been with members of the Democratic Alliance at a P20 engagement. The P20 is part of the G20 event, and it's the platform for parliaments of the G20 countries to contribute to debates on various issues. So he had been with his members in blue that Friday afternoon. He was expected in the Northern Cape, I think in Kimberley to be specific, on Saturday to campaign on behalf of the DA. He doesn't arrive. They don't know what's going on. But this video in the dead of the night, like witching hour, midnight, happened at midnight. And there's Liam with the Patriotic Alliance. I think Ashley Solo's in the video. Katie McKenzie's there, kind of explaining the decision that he's made in order to leave the DA in that moment. So take a listen to Liam's own explanation as to what that was all about.
En ek dink ek moet iets regstel. As you'll remember, in the committee, I almost said Prezi is leading a dictatorial party.
Yes.
A one-man show and all of that. Ek het mos so gesê.
Yes.
But he said something in the committee. Hy het iets gesê wat my binne my siel geslaan het. Ek het nie 'n comeback vir die ding gehad nie. Niks van 'n comeback.
Nee, maar ek wil net admit. Ek jou geleek.
Jarr.
Ek jou geleek.
Kyk hier, ek het 7 minute gehad. 7 out of 25. Ek het 7 out of 25 gehad. Maar daai ander 18.
Ek jou geleek.
Man sê, wat sê die ek? Ek sê, help my. Maar hy het 'n ding gesê, man. Hy het gesê, you call me a dictator. Jy sê ek is 'n dictator. When your party don't have one colored person as a minister or deputy minister, despite colored people making up the overwhelming majority of the party's vote. Now, when he said that thing, toe hy daai ding gesê het, ek het gesit. As 'n moment wat ek eintlik my hele asem ingesluk het. Like ek's honger van die asem. En toe dit gebeur, toe sê ek nee, oom Biza, is tyd vir my om aan die huis te is tyd vir my om huis toe te kom. Is tyd vir my om uiteindelik te sê, ek Biza nie.
Say Biza ni. What's your take on what happened with Liam Jacobs? I mean, people have gone back and forth about why would somebody take a decision like what he's taken. But I remember watching that interaction with him and Gayton McKenzie in Parliament, and I thought that is a difficult one. So in their back and forth, when Gayton McKenzie, in his capacity, of course, as Minister of Arts and Culture, McKenzie, in that back and forth, then said to Liam Jacobs, the DA has the highest share of the colored vote, but it didn't bother to put one colored person in government. Does he have a point? Because that's what the trigger was, at least according to Liam Jacobs, saying that he sat down and he thought about it. And he thought, goodness, the DA might have been able to get to where it is in part because it's got the colored population voting for it. But when it came to picking individuals to be representatives of the party in government, it didn't bother. That's what he spoke about. I mean, I've tried to get him on the line. I would have loved to get his thoughts about this decision, especially because my head is also conspiring a little bit about what else is there. What is your take on Liam Jacobs' decision? Some of you, about a week or so ago, I was doing the show, and I said he's a novice. I said that this person, I was concerned about some of his antics in Parliament, and some of you are saying, no, this is exactly what you want from MPs. He's moving in the right direction. Does what happened this weekend change your mind about who Liam Jacobs is? He's young. He's 24 years old. The beauty of our democracy is that young people have the right to make the mistakes that they're making. That's my take in all of that. Or to make decisions that they think speak to who and what they are. He says there that he's home. Mind you, Liam Jacobs is also the same guy who, during his varsity days, which were not that long ago, was dressed in an ANC jacket, was on an ANC ticket. And at some point in his varsity career, he ditched the ANC and then he joined the Democratic Alliance. He then became leader of the Democratic Alliance Student Association, DASO. And then he ditched DASO to now, went from DASO, was put into Parliament last year. And now, here he is in a Patriotic Alliance and T-shirt. The question there, mind you, it's an interesting one for me. The question there is, what happens next? Is he just going to be an ordinary member? Patriotic Alliance posturing it as he's just moving into a party that's the fastest growing party in the country. But actually, if you're paying attention, in Gauteng, the MEC of Environmental Affairs, I think, is from the PA and has just resigned from Gauteng's legislature. I think they're trying to move her to parliament. It leaves that gap wide open. Part of Liam's rise in the DA was from Gauteng, was under Solim Simang's wing. So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays off, how they play off one another in parliament. Here are some of your voice notes. 011-883 if you want to call in. No, let me do it properly. 011-883-0702 if you want to call in for voice notes. 072-702-1702.
Good morning. I sometimes wonder if the current generation of leadership appreciate the efforts and the sacrifice made by the previous generation of 1976. People laid down their lives for a black child to be better off. But it seemed like this current generation reverses all the efforts made by those people. It is very sad. But anyway, it is what it is.
Tshidi, I don't know what is so special about this boy Liam. There's nothing special about him. He's a young man who was asking questions in a different style, disrespectful style, mind you. That's what he's trending about, because he used to cut those videos and post them on TikTok. That's what he's famous for. But there's nothing special about him. He's gone back to Gaten McKenzie, who is insulting, and Gaten McKenzie said, this boy is disrespectful, he's not going to be Denny Jordan, where he's going to be disrespectful and whatever. And the DA says to him, you need to tone it down. And then he quits. But the very same people he's going to, they also told him to tone it down. He's disrespectful and all that. And even insulted Mackenzie's party and said it's a dictatorial party. So there's nothing special about him. He's just, unfocused. He's losing focus. He's all over the place. There's nothing special about him. There's no breaking news here, Sindile.
Thank you so much, Sandra. There's no breaking news. I don't know, because the issue that he raises is about race. And that always becomes a factor with the DA. It is almost like a trigger conversation. That's what he played into. But I do take that. Like, he's a novice. Like, Atsubi next, literally fresh from varsity. I don't know if he quit because he was told to tone it down. I don't even know he was told to tone it down. Good luck, awena. So that'll be an interesting one to watch as well. Even how the DA navigates it, because they've made it about race. It's always about race with the DA. And that's a trigger point for the DA, because it doesn't know how to address the race conversation properly. It struggles with issues like transformation, and unnecessarily, because these are also very real conversations that must be had about our country. You can't sweep them under the carpet. And I think that that discomfort that the DA has always makes it a picking point. So he's made it about race, saying that there have been no appointments, that actually he thinks that Gaten McKenzie had a point when he said the chunk of votes that helped the DA get to number 2 are colored votes. And then to go on and say, but wait, where's the representation? Which is what I was asking, does representation matter? Mind you, there was a time here where people would say to me, should it matter what color the president is? And let me tell you, it does. At this point in time, it still does in South Africa, unfortunately, because we haven't dealt with our issues. We haven't. So that question does arise. And Liam, whether he's a novice, he's this or that, the conversation becomes bigger than him, I think, And whether he's made a mistake or not with his political career, he'll live and learn, There's Clement Manyathela, who they call a political tourist. He can become one as well. I mean, who cares? But I think that what he's trying to raise is an interesting question. It is 9:30. Fisher Zulu's got your headlines. I will come back and we'll have more of this conversation. And of course, I want to speak about the cricket. Oh my goodness. How dare I not? As champions, eh? But for now, though, here's your Eyewitness News headlines.
For more about 702,
Go to primemediaplus.com.
9:36, the Clement Manyathela Show. Tshidi Madia standing in for Clement. We're discussing a variety of issues. I want your thoughts about Youth Day, 49 years later. Are we moving the needle? Are we going to where those students wanted us to go? Are we going anywhere closer to where the Fees Must Fall generation wants us to go? But of course, I'm also speaking about Liam Jacobs. Liam Jacobs quitting in the dead of the night there. Buloi hour, witching hour, at midnight, announcing that not even announcing that he's leaving the DA, announcing that he's joined the PA. Today, the DA doesn't have a formal resignation from Liam Jacobs. I'm like, what? Who does that? When I asked the party, did you receive a resignation? They didn't. So I want your thoughts about that. And the back and forth around representation. Some people say he's correct to say that Gates McKenzie struck a nerve about the issue of representation. I don't know. I don't know. I do think it does matter. I don't know if it matters in this case. But I also want your thoughts on the cricket, man. The Proteas making history this weekend, securing the ICC World Test Championship, defeating Australia by 5 wickets on day 4 of the final. We won this, I think last one, the Cindy told me, 27 years ago, okay, in 1998. Of course, a special mention must be made to my captain, Themba Bavuma. The cricket development programs of the 90s and early 2000s, the conversation I was also having with my Wanda Mateza. Yes, I pick a lot of brains there at EWN Sports. Speaking about those cricket development programs and the efforts of the likes of Ngonda Balfour and Steve Chwete should not be forgotten. I mean, he showed me a picture of these littlies in MTN t-shirts and he said, right there's Themba, right there's our captain. So it is that. And I kept thinking, what are we not dominating in at the moment? With so many wins over the past couple of months, we are the world's best cricket team, the world's best rugby team, the world's strongest men and women from this country, the world's best surfer, the world's fastest 100-meter race champion, that's Akani Simbine, the fastest woman in the 800-meter race, and of course, a UFC championship. And if you've been watching Amajita, I've been performing well. I'm also putting money a little bit into Sundance performance in the US tournaments just this week. So, you know, we're doing well. Isn't that wonderful? What am I forgetting, hey? What are we not doing what are we not looking at that should make us really proud? Because South Africa has many problems, but we also have this, yeah? We are the ICC champions. We also have this. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702 for your voice notes and WhatsApps.
This is Bongani from Langlachte. I just want to say that with Liam Jacobs, I think he has made a very, very good decision. For me personally, when I saw the whole portfolio committee that was happening there, when he posed questions and all that, you know, I saw a guy really potentially to have who can actually go to PA. It doesn't come as surprising for me to see him right now being where he is right now. It certainly means that he is where he belongs. And I totally disagree with the voice note that played earlier, where they say that he is all over the show and all that. There's nothing special about him. There's something special about him. Hence, Gaten McKenzie took him as well. He saw that there's so much potential. We can actually argue all we want, but we saw that guy, how he posed questions. He makes the person who's been asked questions to be very uncomfortable. There's a discomfort when you're being asked questions by that boy. And I gotta say that this time around, PA has recruited such a good guy to be actually part of their party.
Morning. Tshidi, I think when it comes to youth, we are doing fairly well. It's a step to the right direction. For instance, if we were to look at the leadership in the past, 10 years, we did well. Look at it. Ronald Lamola, Malema, Sivambu, Balula, Mazibuko, Maimani. We did well. So we should be proud. So when it comes to the DA, I think race is always the issue. Happy Youth Day to everybody in Tatemorote, Pretoria.
Thank you so much. I do think, as I said earlier, I don't know if the DA manages the race question well. And, you know, it could answer it in a sentence and just keep things moving. But no, you get uncomfortable and then it becomes a thing. It should not be. It should be okay, this is what we understand, this is what we see, and keep it moving. But they get uncomfortable and get clumsy and get aggressive in managing that question. The issue of young people, I think when you speak about Lindiwe Mazibuko, you're actually not off the mark about the fact that they've produced actually very interesting cohort of young people from, I think those are generations before though. I mean, I'm looking forward to the now people. I saw poet Lebo Mashile very recently was speaking about who's up and coming and who's exciting, and she was speaking about in the art space. She was speaking about Madlera Dope Boy, about Pretty Ricky, really impressive young people. So that's what I'm looking for as well. I was speaking to one of my colleagues earlier who asked about the Fees Must Fall generation and where are they now. Some of them have made it to Parliament. We know that Mcebo was working at Pirates. It's also an interesting picture to look at, where did people go? And I think that's why Liam also matters in that regard, is that, as I said, I think the question is bigger than him to a degree, but I do think that the agency that comes with this freedom is actually part of the reward of the sacrifices of that 76 generation. Here are more voice notes.
Hey, morning, Tshidi. Aubrey and Fostoras. Tshidi, aluta continua. Tshidi, Leon James, let me tell you what's happening. We are missing the radicalism of leaders like the previous Julius Malema. And I hope in our lifetime, we are going to get such a leader, like the Burkina Faso leader. It can tell you, Tshidi, that we are longing for someone. That's why we're behind Leon James. This style of questioning, Malema came to the picture, the very same style of questioning, being radical, but unfortunately it's being classed as being irrespectful, unrespectful or something like that. But as I'm saying, we are longing for a radical leader. We'll keep on trying them. James will go, we'll try another one. But one day, I'm telling you, we are going to get the leader that we are looking for. Thank you, Tshidi.
Good morning, Tshidi. Mkolisi from Sunnyside, Pretoria. In fact, the current generation of leadership, especially in the ANC, are the very youth who were running in the streets in 1976. My question is, what happened? With all that sacrifices, were we along the way, as Hani used to say, sold our soul and become billionaires and millionaires, and even decided to eat the very cow that should bring milk to its babes? It's sad.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's the conversation that liberation movements across our continent, at least, should be having. The overall question about, so you sacrifice so much life and limb for a cause. Then you find yourself, this is actually what I'm studying state formation. And then you get to that point where victory is certain. You're at that one goal, but you find yourselves then in charge. And the thing about being in charge is it's not one issue. You're not looking at one objective that you need to get to. There are many things, many moving parts that you need to attend to, and the goals are continuous and are shifting. And the question of whether or not you then fell off is what you do need to assess. I think it's easy to see when you look at South Africa and what's gone wrong that they've fallen off. There's no question. The reasons why, I think we still need to have very honest conversations with one another, or at least that generation, about what went wrong. Where did you betray your people or your cause, if indeed you recognize that you did? Because part of what also happens that I'm learning is the thing that happens in the psyche where you are unaware of where you've fallen off. I mean, again, I like to juxtapose all of this to the Fees Must Fall generation. They themselves are not in agreement about how it ended and about whether or not they had achieved what they wanted to achieve. I think many of us can still see that they didn't get as far as they needed to. It is their 10-year anniversary of Fees Must Fall. So that will be dissected continuously too, about whether or not they too betrayed their own vision. But I think those are the conversations. I'm not saying have a 700 million rand dialogue about these things, but they do need to be discussed, even by those who are at the center of all of these things. Hear more of your voice notes.
Hi, Tshidi. I just hope that what happened to Floyd don't happen to Liam. My advice to him would be to pursue your your academic path. You do have a degree. Get your PhD. Start looking at a career in academia. I think you will be a great lecturer, great professor. But politics is for the wicked and the crooked. So that is my advice for him. Thank you. This is Papla from Easterus.
Thank you, Papla. People have mentioned that. I've saw people saying they hope it's not the same miscalculation as what's happened with Florence Shivambu. We actually still don't know if that is indeed a miscalculation. It looks like it. And what do they say? If it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. So I'm not sure if that is going to be the case. And one would hope that somebody's careful, right? Is a little bit circumspect as they make decisions in the political spectrum or anywhere really in life. So that's also, we have to adopt the wait and see game. You must remember the PA, much like the MK, they don't have conferences, elective conferences, no ways. I had an interview with Kenny Kunene not too long ago, and Kenny Kunene said to me, no, we're in charge here, and we'll be in charge until we say we are done being in charge. Literally, that's just it. That Gayton McKenzie will be president, Kenny Kunene will be deputy, and that's that. There's no democracy in the PA. That's what Liam Jacobs has signed up for. That's something that he must reconcile with. Floyd Shivambu had done the same. It doesn't look like it's worked out. So again, time is a really great teacher, isn't it? Of all that we need to know. Hear more of your voice notes.
Good morning, Tshidi. This Liam Jacobs thing, for me, it's the way he left the DA. One thing about life is you don't intentionally burn bridges. The way he is behaving is not going to win him friends anywhere but in the Patriotic Alliance. You don't behave like that. The immaturity of it all, it's just, that's what gets to me. If you want to leave, that's fine. But don't make a spectacle of it. Don't burn bridges. Thank you, Tsepo Soweto.
Oh, Tshidi Madia. Baba D, what's wrong with black people becoming billionaires? This thing of people become millionaires, billionaires. Who should be a billionaire or a millionaire? White people only. Black people should become billionaires also. So that guy saying, hey, us become billionaires, millionaires. Who should become a billionaire? White people only. No, come on, guys, man. This thing of saying black people, these are millionaires, Ramaphosa are billionaires. Yes, we must have billionaires. Black people, let's billionaires. What's wrong with that? Come on, man.
Thank you so much, Baba D. I don't think his issue is actually the billionaires per se. It's the rising to capital and rising into particular sectors of society and forgetting what one's cause is. Don't think ever for a second there's anything wrong with black billionaires. Goodness, I want to be one of them. I mean, hello. But I don't think that was the issue. I don't think that's what he was saying, at least from my understanding. Tsepo said something very interesting in Soweto, saying that you can leave, but don't make a spectacle of it, like don't burn your bridges. But I think in politics, if you're also trying to capture people's attention, and I think that's the Liam thing. I said the other day, like, where he's clueless sometimes, about polls and the likes. But people defended him. You guys, Lona, you defended him, saying, first of all, it's the right attitude. Some of you like that aggression. Somebody even mentioned earlier that, like, Malema portrayed that, and at some point they really liked that. So some of you like that aggression, and it works. And being a personality like that, you can't quietly leave a party. No. And also the thing about South African voters, and this is why, will Floyd start a party or not? South African voters are driven to particular kinds of personalities. So if he's going to be put up by the PA for some position or another, and they need to use him to bring in votes, he needs to do something to earn that vote or 10 votes or 20 votes. And part of that is that political theater, that spectacle. So I don't know if that applies in a situation like this. Hear more of your thoughts.
Good morning, Tshidi, and good morning to all 702 listeners. Tshidi, Sebastian here, just to let a light shine on El Dorado Park once again, where we had 3 young people shot to death. And I just think it's an indictment on the youth, especially of El Dorado Park, where nothing is happening. We are burying our young brothers every single weekend. And it's so sad on this youth day. Yes, it's a celebration, but I don't see nothing happening in El Dorado Park. El Dorado Park has been left to the margins of society. We've been given so many promises, but nothing is happening. And it's a sad state of affairs, Tshidi. Anyway, thank you for a great show. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And that's the reality. That's what's happening in our communities with young people. Condolences to the loved ones of those young people's lives have been taken. And that's the reality that we need to contend with. That this is still who we are. This is still our reality. I want to go to the WhatsApp line now. A couple of WhatsApps have come in. So somebody here says, I find it ironic that the PA has no people of other races in their top echelons of power and calls for a level of tribalism, yet the DA has a SA Chinese who was classified black or colored, Michael's son, as a member of parliament. Yeah, Michael's son also served as an MMC in Joburg. Kenny Kunene is a black man, if that counts for that, to that WhatsApp. Here's another one from Jobe. Soprano says, so if you ask 2 or 3 uncomfortable questions in committee meetings, your future in politics looks brighter. And the comparison with Ibrahim Traore is quite comical. Traore didn't sit in a Q&A session pretending to be radical while dipping into Parliament's finger lunch. If you as a caller and desperately waiting for a radical leader, that's fine, but don't compare apples with oranges. Julius can never be a Traore. The stands must make peace with that. That's Jobe. And I think Jobe also raised a very valid point. Julius cannot be a Traore, neither can Liam, for that matter. Hear more of your voice notes.
Morning, our Tshidi, to your crew there, and morning to everyone else who's listening. You know, our Tshidi, I think we as a country are behoved to, give thanks to particularly Tembale to Bavuma for doing the Lord's work for the country, the tough Lords. I mean, steering us to our first ever ICC finals win in the original format of the game. That's something to marvel at. It's great, Tshidi, and it showed resilience. Over the years, he's been suffering this persecution, if I may. And I think we as a country should look at that and be encouraged, and it should restore our hope. And I wonder what those 49ers are thinking now, because this is all about national pride. We should be patriotic and wear our hearts on the sleeve about this.
Did you say 49ers? Speaking about national pride, and then you put a thing in there that's quite triggering to all of us. Mind you, I've been seeing very strange reports coming from the US about, are they complaining? Are they not? I'm not sure. Something's going on with the refugees, but a part of me then felt, no. These people are still South Africans. I don't care what you say. They must be treated with some level of decency by the Americans. The Americans must not sit there and tell these liars, these opportunists, these chancers that this is their land. I you accepted them. You created this pathway. So at least treat them with some level of decency. On my Twitter line, Kolela says, I feel that Liam's growth within the DA was always constrained, to be honest. He would have been a little more than a pawn in a larger political game. As for the PA, it's hard to say, but given that it's predominantly colored party, he might have better opportunities for growth. That's what he says. I did try and get Liam to speak to me. It didn't work. I'm told I need to wait. And I said, well, Liam must recognize this is a story for now. He's not important going forward unless he does something else that's important. Me, as a whole political editor, I'm going to be looking for you for now to understand your decisions now and what you hope for your future. I'm not going to be chasing after you unless you then build up a profile. We're not there yet. We've got a couple more voice notes before I wrap this conversation up for you. But yeah, I don't know. And bring up the 49ers. You're trying to trigger us. On a public holiday. Here are more voice notes.
Hi, Tshidi. It's so heartbreaking to hear people that are honestly now, supporting corruption. There's nothing with Africans blacks becoming billionaires. The question is, how did you get to that pedestal? I mean, it can be seen. We have a massive African young people being jobless, but we have a massive number of people that are being said to be billionaires. Billionaires by proxy. The people have never raised a sweat. They are just being bought so that they can be part of the system. That is the crux of the matter. People are becoming part of the system. That corrupt, National Party system. People were bought then, people are still being bought now. Rob.
Thank you so much, Rob, for that. It isn't about being the billionaire. So if I'm a billionaire tomorrow, don't have an issue with that. You must ask me, how did I make it to being a billionaire? And I think that's a legitimate question. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for all your thoughts and your input.